What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake and the Doc, Dr. Ethan Turner, back in the mix today where we're talking about Joey B, right? Because Joe Burrow has an opportunity now after the NFL draft. Are you shopping? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I was shopping.
Okay, that's kind of what it looked like. We're going to talk about Joe Burrow. I mean, it was great. Don't get me wrong. Like, it looked like you were reaching on the shelf for things, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
You've never seen the shopping cart dance, Jake?
No,
It's all the rage.
Yeah, no, it's like the sprinkler. Is that what it is?
Don't be giving away my secrets, Jake.
That's what's going to be in the next episode. Make sure you stay tuned to that. But back to Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow now has a new weapon in town with former college teammate Ja'Marr Chase, which means he now has Ja'Marr Chase, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins. This dude could have himself weapons galore, but what he really needs, Ethan, is a strong knee ligament, because the dude tore his ACL last year. And we need to make sure that it looks better than maybe what the surgery did, because it looked like Edward Scissorhands did his surgery, because that scar is nasty.
The scar is pretty brutal, but you have to remember that they have to take something from somewhere else and then put it into the knee. So you got to be able to get in there. It's really not that much worse than most. It might be a little bit bigger, but he had a lot of things going on besides the ACL. So, because of that, it was probably a little bit more in-depth surgery than your typical just clean ACL tear. So I'm not worried about the scar, though. The scar is fine. It looks kind of dope, I guess, but I'm not worried about the size of it at all.
Yeah, no, me neither. It's just, it looked bad. I mean, they showed off their new jerseys, and the only thing everybody was talking about was not the jerseys. It was the scar on his knee. So here's what we're looking at. So he's had some time to recover. He's not going to have a full year from the end of his last surgery or anything to recover. But do we think that based off of the injury that he just sustained, that he's somebody that we can still hopefully count on the start of the NFL season?
I think we're probably looking at a stretch there. I think there's a chance. Normal recovery time for his injury in the NFL is about 300 days, plus or minus about 50. That's about 10 months of recovery. Best case scenario, you're looking at about 8.5 months. And so if everything goes right, then yeah, week one being of early September is not completely out. There is a chance that he could make it in, but it basically has to be a perfect recovery. And I don't think we can guarantee that.
And that's the hard part, right? Is just at least he's not like a ball carrier having to make, sudden cuts and movement on that knee. But he still has to plant and rotate off it when he's making his throws down the field. And that's going to be the issue. It is not so much, we're not worried about him scrambling by any means, but the protection, the pass protection. They didn't go after Penny Sewell in the draft, so now he doesn't have that added protection. The weapons are great. Now, does this make you not want to draft a T. Higgins or a Ja'Marr Chase or a Tyler Boyd in fantasy football just because you don't know for sure? Or do you have enough confidence that Joe Burrow, by week 4, should be pretty close to 100% and that we can trust the fantasy weapons that he has?
I do. The nice thing about with Burrow's recovery is that he is on track. He hasn't had any setbacks, and he seems very motivated to actually return by week 1. He strikes me as a guy. All the reports are saying that he's one of these guys that is just attacking rehab. He's going after it every single day. He's not taking any days off. Somebody interviewed his parents the other day, and they were like, well, we went down to visit him, and we thought that, we were going to have a nice family get together, maybe take a few days off, and he didn't. This guy is not even taking days off for his family. So I think we can expect him back early in the season. I just think that week 1, we're really pushing for a week 1. I don't know if he'll be 100%. What does that mean as far as his pass catchers go? Like he's going to play the majority of the year. I'm not going to discount them too heavily. I am curious to see how all 3 of those guys coexist, and Joe Mixon a little bit too. What does this offense look like? I mean, we're adding a legitimate alpha dog, not only just an incredible wide receiver prospect, but Joe Burrow's binky. Like they went out, they got him his binky from college. And you know what I'm saying? When you get your binky, it affects how everybody else gets targets. So that would be my biggest concern with a guy like Tyler Boyd. Even T. Higgins to a certain extent. It's just like Joe Burrow's got his binky back. So when you get your binky back,
It's a good day.
it's a good thing. It's a good thing for Jamar Chase. I'm definitely not afraid of drafting Jamar Chase.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, he's definitely a special talent. Now, from your perspective, and I know you don't know 100% because you're not there in his rehab, but are there any benchmarks that we're looking for here in the offseason? Like, do we want to see him start throwing on the field by a certain date, or are we going to start raising red flags at a certain time? I mean, is there anything that we should really be watching for here this offseason?
The biggest thing, and honestly, we are seeing him throw a little bit. He's not doing full rollouts. He's not even throwing to NFL wide receivers right now. But he is throwing on a field, which is good to see. And if you look at the videos, I mean, from the ones I've seen, he is favoring that left leg a little bit. He's not fully twisting on it. He's kind of hop stepping off of it. And that's normal at this stage. I mean, we're still only 5-6 months out from when he had his surgery. So I'm not crazy, reading into any videos that we see right now. The big thing is he participating in the preseason? He's probably not going to play very many preseason games, if any at all, just for safety reasons. I mean, there's no real reason to push him out there if he's not 110%. But if he does make it into a preseason game, that's a huge benefit for us.
Mm-hmm.
That tells us that not only is he confident, but the team is confident. And when you've got so much money and investment wrapped up into a number one pick, you're not going to be, real aggressive about making him return for a game that doesn't really mean much in the preseason.
Yep.
The other thing we want to look for is, does he end up on the reserve PUP list? Now, the PUP list is interesting because you can come off of that list anytime, but you can't go on to the active PUP, which is where they miss the first 6 weeks of the season, unless you're on the PUP throughout the preseason. So if he gets taken off of that, that would be a huge benefit for us to look for, because what that means is the team expects him back in the first 6 weeks. And that is just, I mean, it's just a huge advantage for fantasy to know that the team expects him back, and that you're not going to use that. You're not going to miss those 6 weeks to start the year.
I have a stupid question, which I'm kind of known for at this point, so it's okay. I have nothing to lose here. Do you think that I'm reading into something incorrectly by saying that by them drafting Jamar Chase, which I understand, they're drafting for the future. They want to have a team that's good for a decade, not a team that's good for a year. That by not going offensive line and by going with another pass catcher, that they feel that they have nothing to worry about with Joe Burrow. He's going to be 100% by the start of the season. They're not worried about it. They want to get him more weapons. Or do you think that they didn't really care? They just wanted the binky?
This is tough because obviously there is Jamar Chase is a pretty special talent at wide receiver, and he is Joe Burrow's binky. So I would say that it's interesting. It's good to know that they had a chance at drafting one of the top two tackles from this draft at 5, and instead chose a position that, we talked about it before the draft, they're pretty solid at. I mean, T. Higgins is no slouch. Tyler Boyd is solid. They have Joe Mixon. I mean, they had some weapons around Burrow. So Either one, they don't trust all those weapons, or two, they really trust that Joe Burrow is 100% and that he is going to make it run regardless of what his protection looks like. And we're just going to have to see it play out. I mean, last year at the beginning of the year, we talked about, oh, what a joke. It's kind of almost became a meme. Like, look at Joe Burrow running for his life in the preseason. And then we see, what happens when you don't have a good offensive line. And so I am a little worried just for his long-term health, that if we can't get him protected at some point, we're asking for this to happen again. And I hope that it doesn't. Joe Burrow is, for the most part, been pretty healthy in his career, but you can't guarantee it unless he's protected. And so I would like at some point to see that get heavily invested in offensive line.
Yeah, we don't want another Andrew Luck scenario with Joe Burrow where they just refuse to protect him and the dude ends up retiring early. Now, you mentioned injury history. We're not going to go too far into that. I do want to talk about just real quick, though. If you're worried about, hey, what's this guy had to deal with in the past, this is all stuff that we include in our draft guide. So our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide will be available for sale for pre-order right now, scheduled to drop June 30th, July 1st, right around there. But that's the kind of stuff that we have in there. Is to go a little bit further in depth, the doc goes, I mean, he goes and follows the kids back in like junior high, which I know sounds creepy, but he actually finds injury history for like their entire life. So whenever he had his booster shots, whatever it is, the doc knows what's going on. And that's going to be included in the draft guide. So make sure you check that out, thefantasyheadliners.com. But Joe Burrow, we're hoping for the best. We're hoping that, we can see some big things here, because with the offense that they've put around him, with the weapons, we could have ourselves some pretty solid fantasy studs, as long as he can stay upright to throw them to them. But that's Joe Burrow. I mean, there's going to be a lot of more questions here throughout the offseason, and we're going to make sure we keep you updated if any other information comes out. But if you have questions, if you're worried about things, put them down below in the comment section. Myself and the doc will be monitoring the comment section to make sure that if you leave a comment, you leave a question, we're going to get it answered for you. We greatly appreciate that support. Got a lot more injury breakdown videos coming up, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss the updates on these players for the 2021 fantasy football season. So hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. For myself and the doc, we'll see you later.